Don't tell me what you value, show me your budget, and I'll tell you what you value. So I try to be mindful, at all times, of what a difference a small human gesture can make to people in need. What does it really cost to take a moment to look someone in the eye, to give him a hug, to let her know, I get it. You're not alone? Rules for happiness, something to do, someone to love, something to hope for. Immanuel Kant. The time will come when, his memory will bring a smile to your lips before it brings a tear to your eyes. If the problem is fear, the answer is knowledge. True bravery is when there is very little chance of winning, but you keep fighting. My own father had always said the measure of a man wasn't how many times or how hard he got knocked down, but how fast he got back up. I made a pledge to myself that I would get up and emerge from this debacle better for having gone through it. I would live up to the expectation I had for myself. I would be the kind of man I wanted to be. For too long in this society, we have celebrated unrestrained individualism over common community. For too long as a nation, we have been lulled by the anthem of self-interest. For a decade, led by Ronald Reagan, self-aggrandizement has been the full-throated cry of this society. I've got mine, so why don't you get yours and what's in it for me? Funerals are for the living, I have always believed, and the job of the eulogist is to acknowledge the enormity of the loss they have just suffered and to help them appreciate that the legacy and accomplishments of their loved one have not died with them. I believe all Americans are born with certain inalienable rights. As a child of God, I believe my rights are not derived from the Constitution. My rights are not derived from any government. My rights are not denied by any majority. My rights are because I exist. They were given to me and each of my fellow citizens by our Creator, and they represent the essence of human dignity. Never tell a man what his interests are. Be straight and open with him about your own interests. And try to put yourself in his shoes. Try to understand his hopes and his limitations, and never insist that he do something you know he cannot. My own father had always said the measure of a man wasn't how many times or how hard he got knocked down, but how fast he got back up. If you do politics the right way, I believe, you can actually make people's lives better. And integrity is the minimum ante to get into the game. Right now, you know, everyone is going to be there for you. I explained. Everyone will surround you with love and you'll be busy and have things to keep your mind off the worst. And then in 6 weeks, or maybe 12 weeks, everybody else's life is going to start to get back to normal. But your life isn't going to be normal again. As a matter of fact, as you probably understand already, it's going to get harder for you. And after a while you're going to start feeling guilty. Because you're going to be going to the same people constantly for help, or just to talk. And as their lives get back to normal, you're going to start to worry about leaning on them too much. There might come a time when you think, I'm asking too much. I've got to stop complaining. So when you're down and you feel guilty for burdening your family and friends, I said, pick up the phone and call me. We Irish are the only people in the world who are actually nostalgic about the future. Nothing we're going to do is going to fundamentally alter or eliminate the possibility of another mass shooting. There will come a day, I promise you, when the thought of your son, or daughter, or your wife or your husband, brings a smile to your lips before it brings a tear to your eye. It will happen. My prayer for you is that day will come sooner than later. And if the problem is fear, the answer is knowledge. Each side has to be willing to try to understand the concerns of the other. The Senate is a place filled with goodwill and good intentions, and if the road to hell is paved with them, then it's a pretty good detour. Hubert Humphrey, as quoted by Biden, p. 134. To me this is the first principle of life, the foundational principle, and a lesson you can't learn at the foot of any wise man: get up. The art of living is simply getting up after you've been knocked down. My rights are not derived from any government. My rights are not denied by any majority. My rights are because I exist. So how do I want to spend the rest of my life? I want to spend as much time as I can with my family, and I want to help change the country and the world for the better. That duty does much more than give me purpose, it gives me something to hope for. It makes me nostalgic for the future. I wasn't built to look the other way because the law demanded it. The law might be wrong. Israel has no better friend than Joe Biden. History says, don't hope on this side of the grave. But then, once in a lifetime the longed-for tidal wave of justice can rise up, and hope and history rhyme. Acknowledging that a woman's right to be safe from a gender-based attack was a civil right, I believed, was critically important in changing the American consciousness. When a right reaches the status and categorization of a civil right, it means the nation has arrived at a consensus that is non-negotiable. Violence against women would no longer be written off, once our criminal justice system, at the local, state and federal levels, recognized these as serious and inexcusable crimes, women could stop blaming themselves. This can happen again. This is happening in other parts of the world now. And you have to speak out. You can't remain silent. Silence is complicity. You should not run for president because tactically you can win. The questions you have to ask are why you're running for president and what will you do when you're president. You shouldn't run until you know the answers to those questions. There's only 3 things he mentions in a sentence: a noun, a verb, and 9/11.